Hi, I'm Sian Rowland from Research Council's UK Global Challenges Research Fund team, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the background and strategy for the Global Challenges Research Fund. So how did we get to the GCRF? Within the UK funding landscape, there are a few things that give us a framework and an agenda to try and articulate what we're trying to achieve. And the first of these is the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which gives a global framework and agenda with the intention that every country can commit to delivering against these challenges. And it provides a useful framework and tool to facilitate conversations about development challenges, some of which require research input and some that don't. But one of the key things to note is that these are very much global challenges, and so not necessarily only focused on developing countries. So one of the other frameworks that we've got is the UK aid strategy, which outlines a commitment in the UK to spend 0.7% of our GND and signifies a bit of a shift away from a focus on DFID alone to a more truly cross-government commitment and a greater level of activity. And one of the key aspects here is a clear focus on the poorest, most vulnerable and most underrepresented communities and countries. So as a consequence of this, there's a broad range of activity across the UK, including a number of different funds and sources of ODA monies, some of which are focused on research and some less so. But the two most important here from a Research Council perspective are the Newton Fund and the Global Challenges Research Fund. And just before we get on to the Global Challenges Research Fund in more detail, just wanted to highlight some of the differences between the Newton Fund and the Global Challenges Research Fund. So the Newton Fund has a very significant feature about the need for intergovernmental commitment, and it's very much focused on working together jointly with overseas governments to identify common priorities. And so this requires partnership with one of 16 specific partner countries who are identified as emerging knowledge communities with the resources required to deliver joint match fund programmes. And as such, this is primarily focused on middle income countries who have that inevitable resource cost to contribute. The GCRF is designed to be complementary to this fund, and it takes a much broader view in terms of geographical focus, covering all countries on the DAC list. So one of the things that this helps support is more multilateral arrangements between multiple partner countries and helps reduce the resource burden that is placed upon those partner countries. So specifically to support the GCRF, we have an agenda focused solely on this fund, and it identifies some of the challenges looking at disciplinary and interdisciplinary angles to help deliver against key development challenges. It has a focus on strengthening capability and research and innovation capacity, both within the UK and overseas. And also this aspect around agile responses to emergencies and opportunities, which is an aspect within the activities to date, but is something which is very much developing over time alongside the current programmes. So it's worth noting that the GCRF has multiple delivery partners, and it's a fund specifically rather than a programme. This means that the different organisations involved in delivering activities can focus on different aspects, such as the academies focusing much more on developing skills, training and individuals, and the research councils focusing more on the research need and the way that research can contribute to delivering against these goals. So within the GCRF strategy, there are a few different strands that are deliberately broad and try to identify opportunities where all expertise across the global research community can contribute and play a key role. These are intended to give a sense of direction, and generally the expectation is that projects and programmes will look to tackle more than one of these key areas, or to look at the interfaces between them. To help in delivering against the GCRF programmes that the Research Councils design, our Strategic Advisory Group have identified some core criteria which are used in all GCRF activities. These include research excellence, official development assistance compliance, which should be thought of not just as an administrative requirement, but also as a philosophy underpinning the development of your programmes more generally. Equitable partnerships and building capacity, with the focus particularly here on the equitable aspect. And of course, impact in terms of delivering both within and beyond the programmes that are awarded. So here you can just see the different ODA compliant countries. This is a list defined and owned by OECD and is referred to commonly as the DAC list. Thank you for listening. So if you'd like more information about the key principles for GCRF, or the Hubs call in particular, please check out the other videos. Alternatively, if you'd like to know more about GCRF in general or the other activities that are going on, please check out our website for further information.